Welcome to Conspiracy Corner Podcast, everyone. This is Abe, your host. Today is July 12th, 2024. Yep, my hair's still messy and spiky. I'm still punk rock, and you'll see why I'm saying that. I'm not just being vain. Oh, you're so vain. Bet you think this song is about you. You're so vain. This episode, we're gonna keep it on the tracks. This crazy train. Yeah, perfect word. We're gonna keep it on the tracks the best that we can. Now, I woke up today. I've got 4 pages of notes here, so this is going to be a long one. I woke up today and had a novel in my inbox from YouTube. It wasn't even a comment on someone else's video, but it ties in with a previous podcast episode that I put out, and I had to title it all weird because I'm still on YouTube. But I did tell you guys I'm not going to censor myself anymore. No more self-censorship unless I accidentally do it out of habit. Because I've been on YouTube for 6 or 7 years. So it is hard to break bad habits. Yeah, I woke up to a long-ass comment from Wrath of the Spaghetti Monster. Yeah. We're gonna get into a lot of shit, and this does tie in with conspiracies and shit. But, this ties in also with a previous episode, and I had to title it weird because of YouTube. It was like, basically the title was, YouTube is now allowing vaccine injury videos. So go watch that so I don't have to rehash that whole episode. But yeah, they're now allowing that. So I was in the comment section of 2 of these vaccine injured videos and commenting. So we're going to kind of go through with the basic comment because, like I said, it was a huge novel, so I'm going to make little PowerPoints of each one. First of all, this person said that some people aren't chronically, and I think is the word he used, chronically engaged in politics. So how would they know that vaccines are going to hurt them? First of all, vaccines are not a political issue. The left, back in the early 2000s, were actually known, Democrats and the left, were actually known to be anti-vaxxers. And this happens time to time. So if you're not chronically involved in politics, neither am I. I just know enough. I took a politics class in high school, so I did get to learn. And I recall my teacher, Mr. Bearline, a veteran and staunch Republican, explaining to us that every so often the political ideas shift. So left becomes right, right becomes left. Everything gets jumbled. So it's not a political issue. And it just so happens that right-wingers are now anti-vax. And I'm anti-vax, and I've always been a left-winger. I've always been liberal. I'm a classic liberal. I haven't changed. I've always been anti-vax. I have fingernail polish. I have a rainbow sticker on the back of my car. I support gay rights. I voted, for Roseanne Barr back in the day. I think she was Tea Party so many years ago, I can't remember. She's a classic liberal. So yeah, it's not a political issue. It has nothing to do with politics. It has to do with your body, your choice. Oh wait, that's a liberal idea. Interesting. Body autonomy. Oh wait, that's a liberal idea. Interesting. And it has to do with simply being an adult and putting your big girl panties on. And by the way, this episode might be either titled "What is a Journalist?" or "Put your big girl panties on," or it might be titled "Take Responsibility." Because today's episode, the main underlying theme, I want it to be, as adults, we have to take responsibility for what we do with our bodies, what we consume with our minds, and we have to take responsibility of what we believe and what we don't believe, who we trust and who we don't trust. Basically, sadly, I have to remind people that as an adult, you are responsible for your actions, your thought process, your mental health, and taking responsibility of, I fucked up. I took a drug, and now I have to deal with the consequences. It's called tough love. So I'll figure it out by the end of this, what I want to title this. But yeah, it's not a political issue. Vaccines have nothing to do with politics. It's medical. It's just that you guys want to make everything political. I remember I worked at a bar years ago, and I don't like sports. Go check out an episode, my one and only episode on sports. It was just recently uploaded a couple days ago, and I know nothing about sports, and this was during the time period when everyone was kneeling on the field, and everyone was bitching about politics and sports, and I'm like, wait, there's politics and sports? And they're like, yeah, dude, it's political as fuck. I'm like, huh, interesting. Politics infest everything, apparently, but it only infests it if you let it infest everything. It doesn't have to. They can try to infest it, or you can be a responsible adult and just say, hey, I just want to watch some people throw a ball around. I've never watched a sport and went, I wonder if who's on base batting. I wonder if they're a Republican. If they are, fuck them. I don't give a fuck what your politics are, as long as you hit the ball and get a home run for my team. Same thing with, like, sex, for example. I have never, ever, politics has never infiltrated sex to me. But there are certain people who won't have sex with certain people because of political views. I've never been looked at a beautiful woman and said, oh man, she's making me hard. But first, let's see if she's a Trumper. Because if she's not a Trumper, I'm not going to try to chase that tail. You guys are the ones who are putting politics and everything. Just don't do it. Don't do it. Medical autonomy is not a political issue. Something else, and I actually love this. I love when people write me a novel and they think they got me figured out. He said, how can you take yourself serious and say that you tried to warn people not to take this? And the name of your channel is Conspiracy Corner Podcast. First of all, I debated on what I wanted to call my channel, and I was actually inspired by Sam Tripoli. And if you don't listen to Sam Tripoli, his podcast is named Tinfoil Hat. And he said he actually took it from an old, super old radio show, talk radio show from way back in the day. He said like the 1940s or 50s or something. But he wanted something that would draw attention. So let me explain a little bit of basic media 101, because apparently this person doesn't understand. I chose Conspiracy Corner Podcast because conspiracy is such a word that gets thrown around by the mainstream media, and I wanted something to catch people's eye. And I wanted you to click on, for one, it helps too, because a lot of people are just now waking up, and a lot of them are older people. And I wanted to draw in an older crowd, and my statistics actually show that most of my crowd is older than me. I just appeal to older people, apparently. I've always been called an old soul, so maybe that's what it is. But I purposely chose conspiracy because I knew that older people who were just waking up, they would go to YouTube, not knowing about Rumble or BitChute or Spotify. They would go to YouTube like, oh, my kids use YouTube, and I want to get into this whole conspiracy thing. So of course they would type in conspiracy theories or conspiracy, and hopefully it's an algorithmic game that we play as content creators, and I would hope they could find me. So, and another reason, Sam Tripoli did the same thing. I wanted to just call myself Conspiracy Corner Podcast because I wanted you guys to know exactly what you were getting into. First of all, I'm a podcast, so I'll keep it short and explain to you that podcast is the last bastion of free speech. And it's shit talking. It's not a news network. And we're going to go deeper into that, but Sam Tripoli called it Tinfoil Hat Podcast. He wanted people to know exactly what they were getting into. So I could have lied. I could have called it, literally, I could have called my channel Mainstream News Network, and then when you click on it, it was all conspiracy podcasting. That actually, for one, because I am a troll, that would have been fucking hilarious. But I didn't want to lie to you because I'm an honest person and I try not to lie unless it's literally going to save my life or save my job or something like that. Otherwise, I really try not to lie. And I wanted you guys to know exactly what you were getting into. And Sam Tripoli has said that it's a blessing and a curse. And he's admitted that he's a shit talker also. And he said, yeah, it's a blessing and a curse. Like, he said, we're just a podcast. We shit talk and we listen to anything and everyone. I don't discriminate. That's one thing too. I would have any guest on here. I could have a guest that is a Q-tard and I would have him on. I would hear him out. That's one thing as podcast, where it is the last bastion of free speech, and we're not news networks. I never said I was a news network. I never wanted to be a news network. Actually, this guy assumed that I was trying to be some sort of journalist. No. Actually, I used to be a journalist. I used to write for 2 different newspapers, Garrett County newspaper. So if you really want to, if you're that bored or something, it actually might help you to do some research on who you're talking to before you start talking shit. I used to be a journalist. I have a paper on my wall when I had an apartment. Excellence in Writing Award for journalism. So I don't think you knew who you were talking to. I was a journalist, and the style of journalism, actually, let me educate you a little bit. I'm a gonzo journalist. So it was started by Hunter S. Thompson. He created a style of journalism called gonzo journalism. So Go check out some Hunter S. Thompson. Very entertaining, and you might learn something. And honestly, just go ahead and Google what is gonzo journalism. That's what style of journalism I did. So, now that we got that out of the way, this is not a news network. I didn't think I had to explain that to you guys when the title of my channel says podcast in the title, but sadly I have to explain what podcasts are to people. It's random conversations, just talking about anything and everything. And I've noticed this trend of Podcast Cringe is a channel that I was watching. I used to kind of like them, and now I don't watch him too much, so maybe I just didn't know what type of person he was, but he was like a brainwashed, like, Englishman. I'm pretty sure he's a lobster back. But he was talking about Joe Rogan had Terrence Howard on. And there was people in his comment section talking about, this is so dangerous what Joe Rogan is doing, having these crazy people on his platform, and just saying that it's dangerous. Parroting, like the Jim Brewer joke of the parrot, trust the science. It's so dangerous. And people could say that about my channel. My channel's dangerous. This is where we get into take responsibility. As an adult, you for one, you're putting yourself down. If you're listening to Terrence Howard and completely falling head over heels into it, first of all, Joe Rogan is not a news network. He's a podcast of shit talkers. If you're listening to Terrence Howard and falling for every single thing he says, you're either putting yourself down. I mean, do people actually wake up in the morning and they go, I gotta be careful of what I consume. I'm too weak-minded and feeble that I could fall for it. I could fall for it. I don't wake up that way. I'm pretty strong-minded that I know I can smell, I have a bullshit meter and I can smell bullshit from far away. You know, when someone tells me 1 × 1 = 2, I just go, no, I can't. I'll listen to you. And I'll walk away slowly. And go, yeah. But that's me being responsible. I've been in and out of mental institutions. Usually when you talk to a crazy person, you just go, agree with them. Yeah. Yeah, we should put babies in blenders. Yes, we should. And walk away safely and go to one of the counselors at the mental institution you're in and go, they're talking about putting babies in blenders. And they go, yeah, that's going to happen here. You know, you're not going to do that though, are you? No. We're good. I'm not going to harm myself or anyone else. So it's okay. Take responsibility. But I was explaining to people that he's a podcaster. And as adults, we have to take responsibility for, first of all, what we consume. Second off, how we react to that information we're provided. I don't just believe every single thing that I hear. I've always reiterated that on this channel, that don't trust anyone, ever, not even me. Do your own research. But, that being said, even if Joe Rogan was a newscaster, can we really trust the news? In the conspiracy community, we have what we call left-wing and blue-pilled conspiracies. We call it Blue Anon because a lot of people don't realize this, but people who are so anti-conspiracy theories actually have their own conspiracy theories. So let's talk about a couple of those, since MSNBC, CNN, Fox News, since they're reliable sources and they're safe sources that aren't going to harm us. Russian collusion, a proven hoax and false. People still believe it. Bill Maher, is that a good source? Bill Maher is a good source of information. He's intelligent. He's not crazy. He's sane. Well, he believes in Russian collusion to this day. That's retarded. WikiLeaks. We were told by mainstream news that it was illegal to view WikiLeaks. That's blatantly false. They were scaring old people like, if you check out WikiLeaks and you read what's on there, FBI is going to kick in your door. No, they won't. You can view it. I don't suggest this, but you can view cheese pizza on your computer as long as you're not distributing it or downloading it. And like I said, I'm not suggesting you, please don't. But that's just a blatant lie by the mainstream news that it's illegal to view that. So we caught them lying twice about Russian collusion, WikiLeaks. Let's go back a little further, because I'm 32 years old. Let me show you my age. Weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. We invaded, took out Saddam Hussein. He was hung by his own people, which, by the way, he wasn't a good dude. So I'm not pro Saddam Hussein or nothing. But we were told there was weapons of mass destruction. That was a blatant lie. There was not. One more thing. There's actually, you can look it up on YouTube. CNN back in like the 80s or 90s was caught on a film studio set pretending that Scud missiles were coming in and they were being bombed. And there was a journalist on site, flopping around in a helmet, dodging bombs, and it was a blatant hoax. The behind the scenes footage was released, and you can view that also. And one more, let's do one more. What was her name? She used to have like a judge show or something, but she was also a journalist, as a freelance journalist or something. She's like a redneck woman. I wish I remembered her name. She used to have blonde hair and like a Karen haircut. And she was literally saying that she was on site live somewhere, and she was in a parking spot and like 2 parking spots down. Someone figured out the location. She was not even where she said she was. And someone actually found the location. So she was just blatantly lying. So what is journalism? Because if that's journalism, blatantly lying to people, that, I don't know, is that what you would define as journalism or a safe source? Just curious. Another thing too, with people trusting the news, because apparently to the spaghetti monster, that is a reliable source, and I'm not a reliable source. Just a question. Oh, actually a conspiracy, buddy. Who sponsors the news? Pfizer. Vaccine companies. So why would the news talk shit on their sponsors? You would never find anti-vax anything on the news. And I should think this would be common sense. As a content creator, if I had a sponsor that was Coca-Cola, I wouldn't have my commercial go on, and then right after the commercial ended, you see me take a big sip of Coke, and then spit it out and go, by the way, this is shit. It's gonna rot your teeth out. It's gonna destroy your kidneys. It's gonna give you diabetes. My sponsor would drop me and I would lose my paycheck and I would get fired. That's another reason I don't want to work for a reliable source and sponsored news station, because I am my own boss. Maybe one day, Mr. Spaghetti Monster, you'll be awarded the opportunity to be your own boss. I hope so, because you probably, like me, have a day job and work for an evil corporation. But when it comes to my conspiracy podcast, I own it. It's mine. Another thing too, I'm gonna get petty. I'm Tom fucking Petty. I love Tom Petty. I used to not like him, but the older I've gotten, I'm a huge fan now. I love Tom Petty. Good Florida boy. I'm gonna get petty. So you said I look like a lunatic and I sound like a lunatic. First of all, most of my podcast, I speak calmly. I think I've only went William Cooper, Alex Jones yelling at people literally in my entire career of content creating 7 years. I think I've only raged behind the microphone. Maybe I'll even bump the number on a higher end of the scale. I'll say 4 times I've ever raged. Maybe actually that'd be a good fucking podcast episode to put out. Like a compilation of the 4 times that I got angry and was yelling behind my microphone. Ooh, thank you for the idea, Flying Spaghetti Monster. I love ideas like that. So I'm speaking calmly. I don't think this is erratic or I'm not Charles Manson over here, What am I? I'm nothing. Now I acted crazy. You can clip that and use that against me. Now I'm insane. I do have a tick, so if that's a definition of being a lunatic, is me twitching. I have a tick. I've had a tick since I was a child. I'm pretty sure that it is Tourette's, on the lower end of the scale of Tourette's. I need to go to a doctor and one day actually just get it diagnosed. But I'm gonna do eye for an eye because I grew up in a Christian household, and I actually do like that philosophy sometimes. You said I look like a lunatic. First of all, I'm a punk. I don't know if you knew that, which is why I explained that at the beginning of the video. I'm a punk, so it is a cultural group, so now you're making fun of an entire cultural group. I guess your parents didn't raise you right. Like, if you see a black woman wearing a dashiki and a do-rag on her head, do you point and laugh at her while you're in the store? Like, ha, she's dressed funny. Like you're 5 years old. Immature. So you're making fun of an entire cultural group with a philosophy behind it and political affiliation, and yeah, we are a group of people, so good job, buddy. There are these things, and maybe you had bad parents, so let me try to be sympathetic. Maybe you had bad parents who didn't raise you right, but there's these things that our parents, whether they raise us on the Bible, maybe you're a Christian, we have like certain verses and certain things that, like, judge not lest ye be judged, which is basically, you can even do a non-Christianized version of don't judge a book by its cover. I'm part Native American. We have a phrase called walk a mile in someone else's moccasins. Basically the same concept of don't assume that people are ignorant or uneducated, because I have a high school diploma and I furthered my education after high school. I went to school too, so let's get that out of the way. I've never looked... Well, I can't say I've never judged a book by its cover. That would be a lie. Try not to lie, remember? But I'm going to call you out on that. So you say that my channel name is ridiculous. I look ridiculous on the way I look. Well, I'm a punk. And by the way, that falls into... This is not a news broadcast. If I wanted to dress in a suit behind a desk and become a news network, I would do it. I don't want to. I want to keep it a casual podcast for entertainment. And if you learn something, you learn something. If you don't, you don't. We're at the adults table. Stay at the kid table. So you judged me on my personal physical appearance, and I wish I knew the name of what they call that in debates. I think it's called ad hominem, I believe. I could be wrong. Tell me in the comments. Yeah, you're judging someone based on what they look like. Jamie Deluxe. Go check out Jamie Deluxe. Very educated person. He's a mechanic during the day. But he does, no, conspiracy theory stuff at night. And all his stuff is documented. He brings out the documents on like every video. All well researched, but it would still be called conspiracy theory and thrown away in the trash, even though he has the actual evidence, which I do the same thing on this channel. I provide all the evidence. I always have documents. Sometimes I'm actually reading from you all's mainstream sources. Uh-oh. I did a conspiracy video the other day about Hunter Biden getting arrested. I'm on camera reading the actual article from the Lexington Herald. Is a mainstream news source, the Lexington Herald, are they conspiracy theorists now? Uh-oh. Even though we just disproved mainstream news sources with literally 5 or 6 different, evidence. Go look all those up. Those aren't conspiracies. So now that we have established that, go check out Jamie Deluxe. He's a punk. Unless you just culturally hate punks, he's a self-admitted punk like me and a conspiracy theorist. So, do you just hate punks? Are you hate our cultural group? That would make you a bigot. So, I don't know, wake up a little bit. But since you bashed me on the way I look and how I talk and how I act in my cultural group, I'm gonna bash you. You labeled yourself the biker gangs, baby. A shit ton of them too. That's the excitement of filming out in the wild. I actually like it. Spices up the episode a little bit. Some biker ASMR. They were all crotch rockets. Your profile picture is the Flying Spaghetti Monster, and your name is Wrath of the Flying Spaghetti Monster. So don't throw stones if you live in glass houses. Like, you say nobody can take me serious because my name is Conspiracy Corner Podcast. How can I take you serious if your name is Wrath of the Spaghetti Monster and your profile picture is the Spaghetti Monster? Here's my little run-in with the Pastafarians. I had a guitarist. I had this band back in the day called Vicious Fist. And my guitarist became a Pastafarian. And by the way, we were all super young guns in high school. And he tried to get me to convert. And he's like, yeah, dude, we worship the Flying Spaghetti Monster in the sky. And there's a moral code, which is cool. Kind of reminds me a little bit of LaVeyan Satanism. That it's atheism, but it's technically a religion because there is a moral code and moral rules and stuff. But you know it's a joke religion, right? Like, you do know that, right? It has good morals and shit, and moral codes, and silly traditions that you all do, like pasta night and having to wear spaghetti strainers on your head and shit. But at the end of the day, like, I hope you're smart enough to know that it's like not a real thing. You know, it's a joke, right? Okay. Because I don't mind being the butt of a joke as someone who would consider themselves like an amateur comedian, because I've done skits on this channel and shit. And I usually make myself the butt of the joke, because the best comedians do. Make fun of yourself. I just wanted to explain that to you. Like, it's a joke religion. You know that, right? Oh, and wrestling is fake. I don't know if you know that, but wrestling is fake. Like WWE, WCW, that's fake. So, you look ridiculous. Well, so do you, Mr. Spaghetti Monster. And that goes back to, too, you hide behind an alias. I love the ones who speak the loudest and write the longest novel comments. They're always behind aliases. It's almost like they're scared. Interesting. Now, entertainment. Let's get into... This is an entertainment channel. Let me educate you and show you a little behind the scenes of basically YouTube content creating, podcasting. You know, let's talk some insider baseball. So let me educate you a little bit. If you actually noticed, this channel is labeled under entertainment, and each episode I always try to categorize as entertainment. Now, I'll give you a little clue. Jacob Israel taught me this. One of my good buddies. Because I do comment back and forth with him, and he responds and shit. He's cool. I like Jacob Israel. Do I want to debate him? Yes. But he's still cool. I would consider him an associate. But he taught me this. We sadly had to start labeling our stuff entertainment so that way we don't get strikes. But we're also not lying either. And it makes us not reliable news sources. So it actually works in our favor. For one, we can say, well, my channel's entertainment only. So 2 birds, 1 stone kind of works out in my favor, because at the end of the day, not that I won't actually debate anyone. I'd love debating. I'm borderline contrarian. And I've been challenged to 2 debates, and I accepted them both. So, yeah, it's a little loophole we have to do to keep from getting strikes. Otherwise, they will consider us actual news sources and publishers of news and shit like that. And I just figured I'd let you know. Little inside business. So if you are, and actually, if you are an upcoming content creator, anyone who's listening, do that. Especially if you're getting into the paranormal, conspiracy, ufology, cryptozoology, anything like that. Label your channel and your videos as entertainment, and you'll get less strikes. It puts you less on the radar, because you're not a publisher of the news. You're not a journalist, you know. Another thing too, whenever I do have this planned, I have all my old articles, and this is just a little plug of something I've been planning for a while. I want to do a podcast episode and read all my old articles of when I was a journalist. I think it'd be cool. It was interesting stuff. Entertainment strikes. Oh, another thing too, and this gets back into responsibility of take responsibility for yourself. This is something you might agree on, Mr. Spaghetti Monster. I'm reaching the 40-minute mark. If this cuts off, I'm sorry. I hope it was an entertaining episode, but we're gonna go until it cuts off. Overtime, baby. Kids are off limits. This might be something we actually might agree on. I am a firm believer of put your big girl panties on is one of the reoccurring phrases that I use. If I ever create t-shirts, I'm gonna have a put your big girl panties on t-shirt. I think that'd be a good one. But kids are off limits, and here is where I will take responsibility for my channel. I've always said that Howard Stern was one of my inspirations as far as he put a middle finger up to censorship and the FCC back when talk radio was still a thing. Which is why I am so passionate about keeping podcast in general shit talking. I don't want podcasts censored. I don't want them to try to force us into being reliable sources and misinformation and information, and you guys have a responsibility. No, we don't. No, we don't. And if you're an adult putting your big girl panties on, you understand that we are entertainment and we are a podcast. We shit talk. We're not news broadcast. But I agree with that. Kids are off limit, and I've always been a responsible content creator. I have said 1,000 times on this channel, I am uncensored. I say fuck, shit, goddamn. I talk about rim jobs. I talk about sex. I do my service, and I speak on Alcoholics Anonymous, drug-related issues, mental health, dark subjects. This is not a kid channel, and I've said that 1,000 times. I'll say it again to make you feel better, Mr. Spaghetti Monster. This is not a children's channel. And I'm against shit like ElsaGate. Do you remember ElsaGate? If you really want to attack someone, look into ElsaGate. That's a conspiracy rabbit hole you might want to look into. Of people creating cartoons and children's content and slipping in fucked up shit. Like Mickey cutting off Minnie's head. Or Spider-Man fucking Elsa. Dark evil shit. There's actually real people who are a danger to society who you should be going after. Parents' response. But yeah, and this gets into, honestly, your scapegoating. You're not taking responsibility for your own mind, your own autodidasticism. You're not putting on your big girl panties. That would be a good title for this episode too. Put on your big girl panties. You guys are doing what they did after Columbine and blaming Marilyn Manson. And blaming 9 Inch Nails. And blaming Doom, the video games. And Grand Theft Auto. And Eminem. You have now officially turned into that old man who thinks that video games are ruining the youth. Video games are causing school shootings. Marilyn Manson is causing school shootings. Scapegoating. That's called scapegoating. When you blame something that is not fucking relative. So, like, if I'm a danger to society, and first of all these things that people were against, like hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin, they've actually been proven, which conspiracy channels were talking about was reliable medicine that would counteract the beer bug, you know. But you guys didn't listen to us, and now it's proven, because everything we say, mainstream media, a year later will say, oh yeah, it turns out it was true. So yeah, autodidactic, that means to self-educate. Educate yourself. Research. Don't trust anyone, not even me. Do your own research. But yeah, I don't like that. the whole blaming other people for, especially if they're not even fucking, related. But there is actual research out there. I know, Mr. Spaghetti Monster, you trust the science, but there's actual research and links to antipsychotic medication that all of these school shooters seem to be taking when they shoot up schools. So, but that would be conspiracy. You might want to look into that. Another thing too, I don't think that people know this, so I always like to do just a little small reminder, and I'll keep it short. Looking at my notes, my handy dandy notebook. By the way, I've been window shopping on handy dandy notebooks. The actual ones, obviously replicas of the one that Steve from Blue's Clues used to use. They're only like $20. I might ask my wife for one for my birthday. I think that'd be cool. I want one, and I could use it and show it off while I'm podcasting. I don't know, I think it'd be a cool collector's item too. I want to get one that I'll use and one that I just keep in the plastic and frame and shit. Just keep it as a collector's item. Because the actual original ones made by the actual fucking Blue's Clues company, they're worth like $150 now. There's people who have made their own that look spot on, which is what I'll end up doing for like $20, but the actual original one that my little brother had when he was a child and he used to use and watch, because he was a huge Blue's Clues fan, my little brother, and he had one of the ones from the actual company. And I remember being a little kid going, don't write in it, you'll ruin it, that could be worth hundreds. And I was right. Not hundreds, but about $150, you know. But we don't know when we're kids. I used to stomp on Pokemon cards and chew on shit, and it's all worth tons of money now. I wish I had listened to my father. But yeah, for the most part, I do news segments here and there, but I'm not a news broadcaster. But I always give disclaimers of, hey, this is a news segment. I always try to cite my sources, and this is something that I learned being an actual journalist when I was learning journalism and actually participating in journalism, actual journalism. Always cite your sources, and I always do, if it's an actual source. I've went through deep dives on actual documents put out on .govs and CIA documents, FBI documents, declassified stuff. We've done whole episodes on this, military documents. Go back and check out my old shit. I've always been good at citing, you know. And it's so funny that this is, once again, people are just assuming that just because you're a conspiracy theorist, you're automatically wrong. One of my favorite times in history was all these debunker channels and skeptics who were saying they're putting shit in the water that's turning the freaking frogs gay. They just automatically assumed that was false. And then I cannot tell you how many videos I've watched of blue pillars actually doing the research trying to debunk Alex Jones, and they said, holy shit, they actually are putting shit in the water that's turning the freaking frogs gay. Alex Jones was right. Yeah. Alex Jones, one of his most famous reoccurring quotes is, we've got the documents. And he shows the documents. This isn't conspiracy, dude. This shit is out there. That falls into taking responsibility and doing your own research. Autodidactic. Self-education. I guess I'll finish it off on this. One of the things that kind of, it didn't hurt me because I'm a cold-blooded killer. I'm just kidding. That's a joke, Mr. Spaghetti Monster. Please don't strangle me with your noodle. I'm sorry. Or don't whip my butt with your wet noodle. Please don't. Oh, no. Please don't. Seriously, please don't, Daddy. I don't know where I went right there. Sorry, I'm a little gay. Mentally ill. You said that I look mentally ill. A lunatic, which is, by the way, let's go back to being woke. That's not the proper term you use as lunatic. That's actually an old-fashioned term, and it's unacceptable. So you might want to try to be a little more woke and conscious about your surroundings. And since you want to bring politics into everything, that's politically incorrect, sir. So let's try a little bit of liberalism. You must be a right-winger like a Trumpy or something. But we don't call it lunatic anymore. That's discriminatory towards the mentally ill. We refer to ourselves as mentally ill. By the way, I am mentally ill. That doesn't discredit me. Did you know that Einstein was mentally ill? That one of the first signs... Let me educate you on mental illness a little bit. One of the first signs of being mentally ill is you stop taking care of your surroundings as far as your house and chores, your lawn. And in science, we call this laws of inertia. You're Mr. Trust the Science, though, right? So you should know about laws of inertia. It's basic high school science. That things become chaotic unless you get yourself out of the bed and make your bed like Jordan Peterson says. And mental illness can cause this. Einstein was messy as hell, lived in a pigsty, and hygienically was horrible hygiene, didn't brush his teeth, had messy hair. That's why he became famous for looking punk rock. He was probably the first punk who created the whole Sid Vicious thing before Sid Vicious. We're tying this all together. He might have been punk. That was a joke. But yeah, he was mentally ill. Christopher Hitchens was an alcoholic, which would be a disease that causes mental illness. Interesting. Jordan Peterson is mentally ill. One of the greatest minds out there. I know, he's a right-winger. You got to bring politics into everything, but you have to at least sit back and admire that he is a very intelligent person. He struggles with depression, and he actually became reliant on antipsychotics and became a drug user, had to go to rehab for that. Doesn't mean he's a stupid person. Mental illness does not correlate with stupidity. Hunter S. Thompson, we talked about him, the creator of Gonzo Journalism, a huge drug user. Now, as far as I know, unless he kept his medical documents secret, which is something that you people don't understand, is along with body autonomy, my medical history and my medical information should not be a public thing. So I shouldn't have to explain to you why I cannot take a vaccine. I have, though. I have autoimmune deficiency, and I can't take it, or else I will die. But it's not your right to know my medical information. You guys don't seem to wrap your head around that concept. But yeah, Hunter S. Thompson was, in my opinion, and I'm pretty sure it's blatantly obvious, mentally fucking ill. But he is, in my opinion, the greatest journalist to ever walk the face of the earth. But you seem to equate intelligence with mental illness. But that's about it. The whole point of this episode is everybody who's listening, put on your big girl panties. Take responsibility for what you consume and how you react to that. Don't put yourself down. You're not stupid. The parroting left and the parroting people of news want you to think you're unintelligent and stupid, that we have to tell you how to think, that you can't think for yourself. You can. So stop putting yourself down. You are an adult. Take responsibility for your own mind, your own body. And I think that's it. What is journalism? I have like 3 different ideas for the title of this. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please like, share, and subscribe. And hey, Wrath of Flying Spaghetti Monster, I wish you the best. And by the way, if you're watching or listening, do not attack this person. The whole point of this video was not to attack this person. It was simply, honestly, some good practice because I have 2 debates that I plan on doing. So it was actually good practice for a debate. It was all one-sided, but hey, Wrath of Flying Spaghetti Monster, if you want to debate me too, the offer's out there. So, yeah, hope y'all enjoy. Y'all have a good day.